Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Bloom Code podcast. It's episode 3. Okay, and I'm so excited to be back with y'all. Okay, it's been a little minute. I done had some very, very big transitions, but we back to do it big and better. Um, Thank you to everybody who is returning. 3 episodes strong. Love that for us. And thank you to all my newcomers. I'm so glad that you can make it. We're not too far in, so if you want to go watch episode 1 and 2, you can. Okay. But nonetheless, thank you for being here. Um, to just debrief, our last conversation was very in depth about just understanding financial fog and what that may have looked like for you, knowing knowing what you do out of survival mode, and your the way that you operate when you're under pressure, when you're living in a reactive state. We went in depth about that, and that was a very good conversation. Okay, I got very good feedback, and it was like I was having epiphanies in the middle of the episode, so that was very, very good. um but today we are going to be talking about hustle culture, leaving hustle culture, and redefining security, or whatever your definition of security is. And so I want to start off by saying that I officially have left hustle culture. Okay, now I do think that it's a need for it, in a way that you definitely go through seasons where it's time to grind it out. Maybe we not in our fields, we not, we didn't did all the prep that we gonna do. It's time to grind it out. It's time to hit the pavement. Okay, get to it, rack it up, like. And those seasons, they come and go. It's not just one season and then for the rest of your life you good. You gonna have to, as you move through different parts of your life and come into different persons, come into different eras of your life, you will have to come back to the drawing board. You will have to grind out, add to your foundation. You're gonna have to keep coming back to that space, but it's not a lifelong thing. And I have witnessed, and also experienced, making the act of hustle culture a lifelong thing. Like, you started with one intention, and then it just becomes routine, and now you find yourself overworking yourself and constantly, dedicating your time, your energy, your body to all of these different things, and you don't even really get to enjoy the thing that you thought you were working for. And so we need to break it. Okay, for me, hustle culture on 2 separate occasions meant 2 jobs and a side hustle, which, if you need to go through it, you need to go through it. But baby, I was burnt out. I'm talking dehydrated, um struggling to stay up, falling asleep driving. Like, it was just so much that hustle culture, that hustling over and over, overworking myself, being in survival mode, feeling like, oh, I gotta do it, I gotta do it, not having any boundaries, not giving myself any rest. All of that took a toll. And one of the things that we don't really focus on is the long term of it, the long term of not being able to eat dinner with your family, the long term of working long hours and not having no time for yourself, the long term of being on somebody else's clock or always having to meet somebody else's needs, the long term. A lot of times we do not look into the long term because we feel like, okay, we on the search for a get rich quick scheme, whatever's going to get us to the top the quickest. So if that means overwork myself, yeah, one day I won't have to do this, but I'm not planning for that day. Right now, I just know this is what I'm doing. And it's understandable, given the circumstances, some people they don't know how to plan, and that's the space that I was in. I wasn't sure exactly how to actually put a plan together that meant that I was continuously progressing. And I've always been a progressive person, so I am moving, in an upward spiral. But at the end of the day, it is a spiral. Like, I have gone through many phases where I was working, 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 and I was working very hard, and I wasn't seeing it. I still wasn't sure like what I was doing wrong. I was not even holding myself accountable for taking the rest when I needed it. I felt like it wasn't deserved. Um I couldn't sit down. I couldn't sit down. I had to get up and be on the run all times of the day. If I was sitting down, I was like antsy. Okay. When I first got my car, when I got my first car, I was 19. Oh, excuse me. Lord. But when I got my first car, I was 19. And when I tell you, I basically lived in my car, like from the day that I got it, I was always in the car, always going somewhere, just sitting in the car. I would be calling people, just looking for something to do, making money, like just always on the go. I was not allowing myself to rest. And part of it was because I felt like I always had to be doing something, but another part of it was like, okay, you don't want to sit down and then you miss the opportunity. You don't want to sit down and then now it's something that don't get done because you decided that you needed a break. Like, girl, you don't get no break. Like, keep going. And this is also language that people around me were using. Like, oh, you overworking yourself. That's good. Oh, you got a job and then another job and you be doing overtime on both them jobs. That's good. Like, recently I've had somebody look at me like, what are you working for? Why are you working that hard? And it was so unfamiliar to me because, like, what do you mean? I'm doing all this extra stuff, like, and my mom was a big advocate of that. Like, you're just working, doing anything. Like, sit down, take a rest. I think that it starts off, or at least I'll speak for me, it started off as something that was good. The first time around, I was working overnight, and then I picked up a day shift at another job. And it started off, I had a goal when I first started. I was going to use the money to get into a new place, and I did. Okay, for the little month and a half that I did it, it definitely gave what it was supposed to give when it came down to the checks. But your girl was tired, like dehydrated, falling asleep driving. In the morning when I was getting off from the overnight job, I was falling asleep just to have to come in the house, get the kids ready, then leave back out. Like, it was hard. Okay. And I was just in my mind like, well, no, I got to do this. I need the extra money. And that's true. You do need the extra money, but baby, your life is not something to exchange for money. So I had to realize that I only stayed at that second job for like a month and a half. Then I had to let that go because I just could not. And one thing that I know at this age, that I feel like some people, they still got to catch up to a little bit, is if you cannot show up fully, sometimes it's best to just not show up at all. Okay, I was going in them people job and they thinking that I got an attitude. They scared to talk to me, asking me if I'm okay every 5 seconds. You don't want to go into somebody's workplace and have them worry about you, because at that point you're not you becoming more of a liability. Like, we don't know if we can trust you with this job. And that looks worse than you just saying, okay, I can't make it. To be honest, I would rather somebody just not show up than come here and make me feel like, well, now I didn't give you a job. So now I got two jobs, the job that I'm supposed to be doing and watching you do your job. So I had to go. And that was not the last time that I even did that. And that was around the end of 2024. Yeah, around the end of 2024, October is when I Um, was it October? Yes, it was October. October is when I stopped working at the daytime job, and I had picked that up. I was already doing the overnight for like 3 months at that point. And I had picked up the daytime shift, and then I did that for like a month and a half, and then I left that, and I ended up leaving the overnight a little while after that too. Um, and I just at that point I felt so lost. Like I'm just like, okay, here we are again, back to not being able to pay the bills, back to not being able to, live. And I just was sitting down looking at the ceiling like, God, what are we doing here? What am I doing? What do you have me doing? Like, what is all of this for? Um, I think also that when you are running like that, it stops you from being able to fully and effectively evaluate the direction that you're moving in. Because if I'm running, I'm not giving myself the time to stop and say, okay, I just took a left on that block back there. Is that putting me closer to my destination, or did I need to take a right? I don't have time to think about that, because as I'm thinking about that, I'm still moving forward. So now I'm 2 blocks down, and I could be going the wrong way, but oh well, we just account for it later. Like, hustling for me was just hard. Okay. And I do think that it's better ways to go about it than the way that I did. Like I said, I do feel like it's a season that's needed in your life. I don't think that we just supposed to, always be at peace, always be able to just float by. You do need to hustle. It builds character, first of all. There's a lot of things that I learned about myself having to like put the pedal to the metal like that. A lot of things that I take pride in now, pieces of that story that give me confidence when I'm walking into rooms, and it's like, okay, this might look a little hard, but it's like, girl, you did this, you did that. Like, being able to give myself positive self-talk um around getting things done, because I've done it before. So I know, even if I'm looking at this like it's a challenge, I know that I can get over it, the second time around was this year. Second time around, I had just got my life insurance license, but if you don't know about getting into the commission industry, a lot of times you do need money to start up. You need time to learn the business. You need, for my field, you got to do business cards and licensing costs and testing costs, and just constantly having to put out money. And it's not a super big amount, but when you are in a space where you feel like you're surviving, and it's like, okay, every dollar that I have to use wisely, because I don't know, like, this could affect me being able to eat tonight. Like, you don't want to, you just be a little bit more stressed out going through them first stages, them first few months coming into commission. And so I was in my head like, okay, well, I'm gonna get another job, a regular 9 to 5, and I had found one. And then I was like, I'm gonna also do Uber on the side. And the Uber was taking me. First of all, I am a person who, you're gonna know if I'm tired when I sit down, because it don't matter what's going on. Once I sit down, if I'm tired, I'm going to start falling asleep. I'm gonna start getting real relaxed. I'm gonna start leaning back. Like, I don't know, if I have a super high metabolism and I'm anemic. Okay, I'm always freaking cold. Um, I don't always eat a lot. Like, and I feel like it's a lot of things that possibly contribute to the way that I get when I'm low in energy. But even with all that being said, this is still the case. So me driving after I done worked the shift, I then went to this office 30 minutes away from my house, then drove to this job that's 30 minutes away from that office. Then at the end of it, I caught myself trying to get a few rides in late at night, or I'm working in the office doing all of this, then leave, go to the 9 to 5. Then on all the days that I have off, I'm driving all day. And I was renting a car through Uber. Uber lets drivers rent. I was renting a car through Uber. That they and what they don't tell you is you can Uber as much as you want. You will not make the money that you need to keep your rental. Um you will not. You will not. You will not. Or you'll make just that, but then you still have gas. You still have maintenance. Like you do not. And so when you're Ubering, you're just making that an hour Uber for 3 days, maybe like 4 or 5 hours a day. And at the end of that, I would have made what, like somewhere around 150, maybe 180. My payment was 360 a week. A week. Like I was paying them a little bit over $1,000 a week to have the car. For y'all to only be paying me, or for me to only be making enough money. By the time the month is over, I'd have made what I needed to keep the car for 1 week. Like it was not lucrative at all. And I was working very hard. I was doing other stuff. I would recommend that as a hustle to people who have nothing but time to just drive. Like that's all you're going to be doing. And you enjoy driving. Like that's who I would tell to go and sign up for that, because the way you don't, or if it's like, extra money, if it's something where like you just need the car, but you have something on the side that will actually pay for the rental, and you just, because they do have a ride count. You have a weekly payment, and then you have a ride count that you have to keep to match. And mine was 30 rides for the week, which that's not a lot, but at the end of that 30 rides, I only got like $50. Um, I think something else that contributed to it was in New Jersey, because that's where I was doing it at. In New Jersey, the the age for rides for driving people was 25, and I don't turn 25 until December of this year. So but I hadn't known that, and they also weren't very clear about that. That was also something that I was running around looking for information on, calling them back to back. Hertz don't answer their phone. It was just it was that dealing with that was a whole job outside of the driving part. um but I also was fresh in a new industry, getting into the finance industry, getting into retirement planning, having to learn that I had classwork that I had to complete in and outside of work. And this job, as far as schedule wise, was a little bit more lax, but at the end of the day, if you can't show up, you can't get the task done. So it's like, okay, I have the room to, like, leave if I need to, but I'm spending all this time away from this thing, and that means I'm not working on it. So that right there is like, okay, well, I have the room to do the side hustle, but now I'm also thinking about how this is also taken away from me getting this thing that I really want to do started even faster. It's taking me even longer to get this done because I have this side hustle on top of the 9 to 5 job that I was working, which was direct support. And um, it was the work that had to be done. Yes, it was the work that had to be done, but it was also, and not even the work, because direct support is a very easy job depending on the houses that you got. But everybody at the company that I was working for had basically told me like, oh, you got the easiest house out there, like, the one of the most relaxed houses we have. And so, which was true. Okay. I worked with two ladies. They both were older. Very easy to deal with, you know. The shift was very quiet. I didn't have much to do when it came to, you know, helping them, taking care of them. And I also was working the afternoon shift. But the thing that got to me was, for one, it was 30 to 45 minutes out. That's a drive. Okay. I was leaving my commission job early. I was leaving the day early, ending the day there early to be to this job on time. Now I can start Uber when I want. I can, you know, be to work a little bit after the office opened at 8:30. But if I needed to get there 9 o'clock, 9:30, that was okay. Um, the direct support job was like, no, we need you to be here at this time. If you could be a little early, that'd be best. And I think specifically that the house, the how can I say this? I don't want to make anybody look bad, but the house that I was working in, the manager kind of gave like a pressure. Like, I feel like there was a subliminal nudge that or nudge of pressure that was put on me, just trying to meet the expectations, you know. Both of the individuals were in both of the individuals were in a day program, and so they had to be picked up. And the timing around that was just a little crazy, you know. And I had even went to them and I was like, you know, asking them, because it was so far from my house, especially like, well, you know, when we talked about this, and when we talked about it, I had actually talked to them. I talked to the hiring manager about being placed somewhere closer to where I live, so I didn't have to do that 30-minute drive. And um after, like, you know, a week of going up there, I did my orientation, I did my onboarding training. And after like a week of going up there and actually doing a drive, getting a feel for the shift, I had just come to the conclusion that, like, no, I definitely need to be placed somewhere that's closer to where I live. Um, just based off distance and how I was able to handle my time. And they basically told me like I was unprofessional for even, you know, asking after I had accepted it. Like, and I didn't appreciate that at all. Um, I will never bash 9 to 5s. I think that they are for people and they are not for people. Um, there are plenty different ways to make money. Okay. Um, but this time around, me learning, me seeing like the way that this company handled me as an employee, I was just like, okay, yeah, this is one of the reasons why I am eager to leave the 9 to 5 workforce. Because how am I unprofessional for coming to you and being honest with you about how something doesn't work for me in my life? um so that for me was like, okay, well, you know what, we're gonna try to work through it. I did one more day, and after that I had to call him like, yeah, I ain't coming in tomorrow, I'm sorry. And it was very heavy. It was something that I felt wrong for doing up until I did it, but I was fighting with myself. Like, I was fighting with myself on the back and forth of like, well, do I do this? Do I not do this? Am I just like being fragile right now? Am I not? But I literally was overworking myself. I was so tired, not being able to really engage with anything outside of that. Not to mention, when I was packing up when I'm ending my day at one job early, that means that I'm not even working up until I leave. That means I'm stopping my work early because I need time to pack up. I need time to close everything out. I need time to gather my things. I need time to check in with everybody and make sure that I'm not missing nothing and that I have everything that I need to finish this at home if I can. Like, all of that was like, so I'm shortening my time over here even more. um and in the end, I just found that the balance, it was kind of impossible, like you don't ever want to overwork yourself to the point where you don't even allow yourselves those breaks to kind of process. And you don't want to put yourself in no space where you meeting somebody else's needs becomes more important than what you're trying to get done. At the end of the day, I was looking at this as, when they had said the thing about me being unprofessional, I was looking at them like, you don't know what I have going on outside of here. And I did agree to come and work, but our initial conversation was this one thing. We talked about me doing this to get my foot in the door. And then I found out about a 60-day probation period where you can't switch houses. And I'm just like, you never told me about that when we first talked about this. Like when I first did my onboarding paperwork, we never talked about this. So uh I just found myself in a space of like, okay, yeah, this is not for me. Um and honestly, I'm glad that it didn't take me super long. I had worked there for like a month too. I'm glad that it didn't take me. I kept the finance job. I kept the job at the retirement planning firm. And I worked that out until the very end, until I came back to South Carolina, which y'all, I'm back in South Carolina. I'm back home. Um, Technically speaking, New Jersey is home. New Jersey is where I'm from, but South Carolina is home for me. And we're gonna talk about that a little bit. Okay. So I kept the job going all the way up until I got here. And I'm so glad that I did. I'm transferring my license now and getting back into the workforce. And things are going great. Okay. Now, the move for me, I had to slow everything down. Okay. I feel like also a part of me ending my season, my hustling season, was me accepting that my family dynamic is what it is. Okay. Um One of the things that was so hard for me to accept at one point, and I feel like the first time I came down to South Carolina, uh and I talked about that in previous episodes. I talked about how I left my hometown. um I feel like one of the biggest things that I had to overcome was the feelings that I had around my family, and childhood trauma, the way that things was dealt with, losing my dad and all of that, and not just losing him, but how things played out after he was gone, me needing support and feeling like I wasn't getting it, just all of that. I left New Jersey and I came down here with all of that on my shoulders, and it showed. It definitely showed. I was very skeptical to fully put myself into the new relationships that I was building with my family that I have down here. I was very reluctant when it came to relationships. Just, oh no, just the just constantly, going back and forth with myself about if this is okay, if that's right, if I should be doing this, if it's safe for me to do that, based off of my prior experiences before I left. And I think that one of the biggest turnarounds for me when it came to really being able to let stuff go was this time that I spent back in Jersey. Okay. I got back there and I was able to address everything that, literally everything, like everything that was on my shoulders coming down. I was able to address it. it came up at some point in time. And I appreciated that after the first two incidences. Okay. After the first two incidences, I started to look at it a little different. In the beginning, I was just feeling like, oh, here we go again, you know. But honestly, I started to look at it as like, okay, I'm seeing this from the outside now. I don't feel like I'm in the middle of it. I don't feel like I have to be here. Before I was a kid, and it was like, well, why is this happening to me? Why is this the family that I was born into? You know, you sitting there and you feel like you don't got no solution. So all you could do is ask why. This time around, it was like, no, girl, you is grown. You do not have to sit here and take this. You do not have to sit here and play into it. You don't have to let nobody stress you out. Like, you don't have to do none of that. So, you know, put your big girl pants on, set those boundaries, and stick to what it is that you know. You left and built a whole foundation for yourself emotionally that allowed you to stand up for yourself, that allowed you to, you know, stick to your opinion and your perspective. Because my family is full of gaslighters. Okay. But I got a lot of the situations that came up when they were happening, I was seeing them as okay. For one, I'm looking at it as you're not my mom, you're not my sister, you're not my grandmother, you're not my whoever. I'm looking at it as you are a able-bodied, free will bearing adult. Okay. If this is how you choose to respond, if this is how you choose to act, if this is how you choose to carry yourself, I can choose to. Okay. And I was choosing to stay the hell out of it. Truthfully and honestly. I no longer felt like I was stuck in a box. And I think that I do think that me going back was needed. Of course, you know, I wish the circumstances had been different because I had uprooted my life. I had got rid of my apartment in South Carolina. I had basically, you know, threw everything away to go and live some other life that didn't work out, and it put me back in my hometown. Um and it was like when they were in my realm, when they came down to visit me, because I let my family come visit me. When they came down to visit me, it was like everything was good, you know. They saw what it was and they abided by that. The minute I got back in their space, everything that they had did to kind of make me feel like things could be a little bit better, they started undoing. And honestly, I don't blame anybody. But it did help me reshape my definition of security, simply because y'all are grown, but so am I don't have to sit and look at you like, wow, I'm the daughter. Why are you doing this? Wow, I'm the little sister. Why are you doing this? You know, I don't have to sit and look at it like that no more. I can say, okay, that's what you choose. I'll choose this. No love lost, but I'm gonna choose this. This is giving me peace. And people may feel how they feel about it, but I had to step into a sense where I couldn't let nobody make me question what security meant for me. With that being said, my stay there was real short lived. Okay, I did about 6 months up there. I told myself I was gonna do the year and try to give myself time to recoup, put some things back together. So when I came down here, I didn't have to, you know, go stay with anybody or anything like that. But it didn't even work out like that. Like, and um the way that everything was going up there, it was like, okay, I feel like this was a growth period. Like, God, you showing me everything I've overcome. You showing me how none of this serves me no more. I'm glad that I came back because I don't have to be afraid of it anymore. I can feel secure in who I've become because that girl that I've become overcame all of this. I don't have to engage. I also feel like it helped me let go of a lot of expectations that I had wrapped around what family is supposed to mean to somebody, what it meant to me, and what other people's obligations are to me as family. I feel like I was able to just let a lot of that go. And truthfully, it was needed because it was hindering my relationships with people who had not even done anything to me. When I had left and I tried, being a new person, because I told myself, well, you can be whoever you want to be. But the thing is, I didn't know how to be anybody different. I didn't know how to be anybody but the girl that was fighting for her life. And I carried that into every space that I walked into. Um, so I'm glad that's over. But it gave me a new sense of security, not only in myself, but in my process, where I'm now comfortable with me. And I still have my moments, but they never really go away, is the thing. Like, we talk about healing, and the thing with healing is it doesn't really go away. You don't always have things that just no longer bother you, or trigger you or send you back to that place where you had no control. Sometimes you don't ever uh get to that point where it's just like, oh, you don't even think about it with certain things if they're big enough. But you do get to a point where you can kind of tell yourself, like, no, I'm safe. It's not that big of a deal. And sometimes you may revisit the things and you might need a moment or a day, but now I'm to the point where I'm so secure in myself that I can express that without anybody looking at me, without feeling some type of way if somebody was to look at me and not understand where I was coming from, or act as if I was doing too much. I don't care that you feel that way. I'm not saying that I don't respect it. I'm not saying that. um but it's not going to move me or make me question if I am doing too much. So that was one. But also, when it comes to overworking myself, it's like things are going to play out the way that they play out anyway. Okay, do what you know you're supposed to be doing and just take it from there. After letting the job go, I kind of was in a place where I had to depend on people that I wasn't getting along with. I had to depend on family that didn't respect boundaries when it came to my son. And um I just got to a point where it was like, okay, well, I know what I have to do. So I'll do the things that I have to do, but I will not allow anybody to take me to a place where I feel like um I'm not being grateful, because I know I am. But your definition of gratefulness is different from mine. Mine is that I show you respect and I do my part. Yours is that I allow you to overstep my boundaries and disregard the space that I take up. And I don't care how much you do for me. It's never that. So, um, getting more secure in myself and getting to a place where I could focus on other things. I used to spend a lot of time thinking about what other people thought, thinking about how other people were perceiving me as a person. But now it's like, you have other things to worry about. Be more focused on what you want them to perceive and not what you think they're perceiving, which in the end just means focus on your craft. Focus on your craft. Focus on the stuff that you want people to look at. You want people to judge. I want people to see that I do life insurance. I want people to see that I do a podcast. So those are the things that I'm going to work on. You know, um, not feeling the need to overwork myself. And yes, I mean emotionally, but also physically as well. I let the 9 to 5 go, and I did have to depend on the people that I didn't care to depend on, but that's the situation that I was in. And I also had to realize that I was going through a time where I was seeing my growth. Is you could sit here. It's You could stay in this environment and have to deal with this stuff, have to deal with people not listening to you and making it seem as though you're the one who always has a problem. For the sake of being around family, you could sit in this space where your money does not grow because you're always stressed out, because you're always focused on the wrong stuff, because you don't have the space to do what you need to do and be who you are. Or you could accept everything for what it is and move accordingly. And that for me simply meant coming back down and just taking it step by step. I'm not stressed. And even, the little things. I catch myself getting worked up in the moment. I have de-escalation tactics when it comes to work. As far as security goes, I have realigned in a way that I am going to go back to work. I am in the process of going back to a 9 to 5, even with my podcast and my life insurance license. I'm going to go back to a 9 to 5 because I now know that I can use this to set my foundation. And I have what I like to call, I have an appropriate assessment process to determine when I'm giving too much, when I'm not giving enough. If I need to pivot this way a little bit, pivot that way. I can determine those things without being overwhelmed, and just knowing when to take a break, knowing when it's too much, and sticking to my non-negotiables as far as the type of work that I want to do. Sometimes we feel like, well, just take anything, and to an extent that is the truth. If you're looking at a 9 to 5, that's not what you want to do for the rest of your life, but it's going to bring you some money right now and you need the money, do it. But don't do anything. I wouldn't advise you getting into something where you're going to have to dedicate your life's work when you have a goal of your own. Your goal is not to move up in that company. So go there and do what you need to do. Do not sign up for something that's long term if you know that this is just, what you're using to get by. And that's okay. You have those conversations, and you also be fruitful in that space. So yes, you work a 9 to 5, but if you working with your hands, you doing a little mechanic work or whatever the case may be, take what you can, meet the people, introduce them, tell them about what you do outside of here. If you have the room to do that, if you're in a space where you having conversations, like, be fruitful in that space. And honestly, that's what I've been trying to stick to, is put myself in places where I'm happy no matter what. And if it's not, like, for sure bringing me joy, I can be comfortable in the mindset of, okay, I'm here for just this one goal, and that's okay. I don't feel the need to do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 jobs. um but I don't want to be stressing out, because podcasting is a process. You have to learn how to monetize on the internet. That is something that so many of us are trying to do, and a lot of us just don't know how. And sometimes it's frustrating having to learn new things. I will wholeheartedly admit that. Okay. But I don't want to be stressed out while I'm figuring this out. So a 9 to 5 is okay. And I know that the work that I have outside of this is, or outside of the 9 to 5, is important enough for me to dedicate that time and do what I need to do. Learning how to incorporate, because the work that I do with my podcast and with my business, with the Bloom Code, is life's work. So even talking about my 9 to 5 and learning how to incorporate it into everything that I'm doing, so that way it's all working in unison, and I'm in the mindset where if I need to switch this out for this, I could do that. If I need to, I'll still be scouting out. This is just a 9 to 5. So if I could still look around and maybe find something that's a little bit easier, maybe find something that pay a little bit more, you keep your eyes open in those areas. But your security is set around who you are and what you're trying to get done. And I feel like one thing that hustle culture took away from me was the actual desire for my goal. It put me in this space that, you have to work, to the point where after a while, I didn't even know what I was working for no more. I just know I am working. I had done all of this, and I think that a big moment for me realizing that was after I did get in my apartment, when I stopped working the second job, the first time when I did the overnight and the day shift. I had got into the apartment, and I was going through a little bit of separation anxiety too. But I just felt so like, I know this is not what I worked for. Like, this is not everything that I worked for. I don't want this. Like, I don't want this. I'm not happy. I don't want this. And um But being in a space where it's like, okay, it makes sense for you to work this hard. It makes sense for you to work this hard. So when people start handing you rewards, and this is where you have to be secure on what you are expecting from life and who you are as a person. When people start handing you rewards because of all the extra work that you're doing, and you're just running, to an extent, you're not thinking like, oh, okay, that's not even what I asked for. That's not even what I asked for. You're just taking it. Versus like, no, I'll keep going until I find this. I'll keep going until I find that. No, it's okay, you could keep that. I'll keep going until I find this. I was, risking it all and wasn't even clear on what the reward was that I was looking for. So when I had got to a good point, I felt like I didn't have anything. um and other things went into it, of course. Like I said, I was dealing with, family, thoughts around my family and everything like that. But still, in all, my sense of security was nowhere to be found. And so now I'm at a point where I know why I'm doing it. I know how much energy I have to give to this one thing, to that one thing, to all of these things, and to even emotionally budget my efforts and my time to be in a mindset to say, okay, I don't have the capacity for this one thing right here, right now. So I'm going to take a day from this, but that doesn't mean don't do the other things, or, maybe just take this one day to just relax my entire everything. Don't do any of the work for this one day. And taking rest is okay. Okay, taking rest is fine. So I definitely it's been a growing season for me. Okay. It's been a lot that has happened in just this short year. 2025 was an eye opener, baby. Okay, 2025 has poked at some wounds, has peeled some scabs, has rebandaged some cuts. 2025 has been, boy, a rolling ball, okay? Um but I hope that in the end, my biggest thing in the end is just to get to a space where I can be confident in everything that I'm giving myself to. I don't want to be on the fence back and forth, even if it's a season that I don't particularly care for. So I will come around, and I feel like to an extent I'm still in my hustle season. Just because I have a new outlook on setting my foundation. I have a new outlook on what it really means to be secure. But I also know that just because I'm in my hustling season doesn't mean I don't deserve rest. It doesn't mean I don't deserve to sit and take a break. It doesn't mean I don't deserve to actually give myself time to process, not just run, 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 run. And not feel bad about it. I could do it, and I could be happy while I'm resting. I'm not overthinking about all the things that's not being done because I'm not on my feet right now. Um so I do think that over this next few days, I want everybody to sit and just think about what hustle culture has done for you. The good, the bad. Are you overworking yourself? Are you giving your time and energy to things that truly don't even serve the real, what the authentic image that you want? Are you constantly allowing your efforts to be put to other people's causes, or to some bigger cause that takes it away from you? Are you feeding yourself? Are you feeding yourself positivity? Are you being nice to yourself? Are you talking down on yourself, telling yourself you don't deserve rest? All of these things matter. And just as far as your security, getting used to being uncomfortable. It's not a bad thing, and usually it means growth. Getting used to being in the unknowing seasons, and just taking it day by day, because we say that we're gonna take it day by day. We say we taking it day by day, but every day we're stressing. every day we're stressing. And that definitely needs to come to an end. So around just finding the space to be secure within yourself, and around um determining whether your hustle season has ended, whether you're going to keep it going and just change paces a little bit, and really being able to define those things, thinking about what plays into you feeling like you might not deserve rest, or what plays into you feeling like you have to keep going even if it's not working for you. The people who there are a lot of people in the world who feel like, I'm gonna just keep going with this until I figure out what works for me, and that's okay in certain seasons, but that's not for everybody. You need to reevaluate. Are you pulling from yourself to be able to contribute to this thing while you're figuring it out? Are these things taking a toll on your family time? Are they taking a toll on your mentality? Are you building resentment because you have so much to do? These are all the things that contribute to you being secure within yourself, and just knowing, okay, well, I'm hustling right now, but it's for a purpose. Like, I gotta get it. I gotta get to it. And I don't just mean get to the money, because that's what we all trying to do. But how long are you gonna be trying to do that? I want stability. I want to be able to, take a vacation or just dedicate my time to something else when I need to. If family is sick, I don't want to have to call off from 3 different jobs and figure out how I'm going to get 7 different things done while also trying to be a mom. There's seasons for it, but it's not a lifelong thing. And we have made this years long at this point. You know, us being 24, 25, 26, being 22, being 21, being 18, we have stories of our parents being overworked all our lives. Yeah, my mother was tired. She used to come in the house and yell about the dishes not being done and work all these shifts. People who have stories for years at a time where they parents worked long hours and were never home, and we had some good times, but it still also was hard on your parent, the way that they felt having to be home, and they felt like it was something that they have to do. And now we live in a time where we see you don't have to do that. It might be a while to transition, especially if this is the lifestyle that you've been living for a little while, but it's doable. It's doable. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody again for returning, okay, to the Bloom Code. I love you guys so much, and I'm so happy that I'm able to share with you guys, because it is a lot that it's a lot on one person. Okay. But it is a lot that I see a lot of people going through, and sometimes you just don't know how to start those conversations out in the world. But I'm glad that I could come up here and let it all out and really push my voice with you guys, because I think that this is something that is very big. A lot of us are in a rat race and we don't know how to get out of it. And I drove myself crazy trying to get to the point that I'm at now. So I definitely understand for anybody who is not at this point yet and what that may look like for you. I'm glad that I'm able to share my experience and find people who relate. It's a beautiful thing. So thank you for tuning in, and I will see you guys next week on the Bloom Code.